Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. My guest today is a very special one. His name is Andrew Jernigan. He is the co-founder and CEO of Insured Nomads. And if you listen to this show, then you know that Insured Nomads is the sponsor of About Abroad this season. And so I'm very thankful to them for their partnership, their support. And I was extra thankful that Andrew shared some of his very valuable time to come on the show and take me through his story, which is really, really interesting because he's been a digital nomad for like 30 years now and has done it with a family and has lived in countries ranging from Africa to Brazil to North America and traveled all over, and just has a ton of knowledge to share about living in different places, doing it with a family, building companies and a successful career while doing so. And it was just really, really fun getting to know him a little bit better and learn a little bit more about Insured Nomads along the way. So I had a blast getting to know Andrew. I think you will too, and I hope you'll help me in welcoming him to About Abroad. You said you just got back from a transatlantic flight. Is that correct?
Well, it's this world of jumping from one phone call to the next. You often get jet lag. I was just on a flight from Paris and London. How could I have come from two different places on the same flight? No, this working remotely with a globally distributed team, we take virtual flights from one continent to the next in this way of living. So here we are on another. You're in Europe and I'm in North America. And from the next call, I think I'm back to Europe again on my next virtual flight. So.
It's a different world we're living in. Should have stayed around a little longer. It's almost dinner time here in Spain. We could have had some tapas or a cerveza or something, but next time. So you're currently in North America, but and I guess this is where we're going to learn all about the Odyssey of Andrew today. That is where you call home right now, or is it I guess how do you define that, where you call home? Because you're quite a nomad.
Yeah, where I call home almost feels like an airport. Well, I would say the airport lounge. No, it's a tough question of where home is because it's where the friends and family are at the moment. And those are spread around the world. So my home is displaced.
Mm.
We're dealing with a generation of globally homeless.
Yeah.
Where people are willing to be homeless.
We've chosen this.
The world. Yes, they've chosen to be homeless. But that's a different type, and not to demean those who need a home.
Yeah,
because our heart and actions need to go out to those as well that are not choosing global homelessness. But back to that, where is home for me right now? I'm calling it outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's nice. A new home for me. I landed in on January 1st of this year, left on the 31st of last year from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
How long were you in Brazil?
That time, about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Previously, I'd lived in Rio for a couple of years. I've lived in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, which is inland in the mountains, a city of about 2 million in the mountains. I've lived there 3 times for 2 or 3 years each time. So, wow. But that time it was in Rio, just down from the beach. Love it and miss it. I just went back there for a split second.
Slightly different than Philadelphia this time of year.
Yes, but the beautiful flowering trees, the sound of the birds. As I was on a call yesterday, the church bells chiming down the street is 7 beautiful cathedral surrounded by 1700s buildings, from colonial days.
Also not bad. Yeah, it's a very
Yes.
cool city.
Hmm.
So Brazil. So do you just have like a love for Brazil? Is that it, or I mean, because I know you've traveled quite a bit. You've lived in a bunch of different countries, but it sounds like Brazil's been a home away from home. To use that word home again, I can't help it, but it sounds like that's been a
Yes.
place you've spent quite a bit of time.
I have a love for Brazil because I have a love for a Brazilian woman who has been my wife for over 20 years now. And
That
so, and I have, so
explains
I
it.
have, yes, I have Brazilian American kids. One of my kids was born in Ghana, though. Blonde hair, blue eyed, tells his classmates he's African and they assume South Africa. But so it was good this week because or recently, not this week, but recently when I was getting COVID vaccination, I got to speak Twi with a fellow West African
What
because
is
I
Twi? Where
feel
is that? Just in Ghana, or where is that spoken?
primarily just in Ghana, but this was actually a Liberian who had lived in Ghana for 10 years, so he had learned Twi,
Wow.
which is one of the largest languages spoken in Ghana. Spent about 4 years there. I was running a hospital,
Yeah.
and that's my background is healthcare administration in the nonprofit world generally, some in the for-profit space in the U.S., and then got into risk management. Married a physician who specializes in travel medicine, who is one of our co-founders here as well. But yes, my kids are polyglots, multilingual, trying to figure out where home is as well. Those third culture kids. And we're ready to relocate at any time, but yet keeping kids in a stable environment during adolescence is a crucial factor when you're doing this. We've tackled every form of schooling possible. Also, sadly, that's been the case of having teachers travel with us, local school, international school, foreign international school, an Italian school in a foreign country where there were no Italian speakers, even.
Wow.
I'm not sure why we as parents thought our kids would just jump into math and Italian when they don't speak Italian. I mean, I think we
They're
looked at it
adaptable,
as,
right?
right. I think we looked at it as, oh, they'll want to learn Italian, even though we were in Brazil and the school only spoke Italian. I don't know.
What
We
was the
quickly,
rationale? I'm so curious. Wait a
right.
second.
Yeah, that was a parenting mistake of ours when we thought, they will gain another language and they will want to gain another language. Instead of an American school or a Portuguese school in Brazil, we'll put them in an Italian school funded by Fiat. But needless to say, they didn't really adapt to math and everything else in Italian when they didn't understand a word of it. They quickly were moved to the Canadian school.
Are they already at this point bilingual in terms of Portuguese and English at least?
Yes,
Yeah. So
yes,
there
they
was
are.
that was the reason for saying, somebody from the outside looking in might say, well, put them in a Brazilian school and they'll learn Portuguese, but they already spoke Portuguese, so this was
Right,
extra.
and being ready to jump into a university system, whether in Europe
Mm,
or North America, sticking in an English speaking school system internationally
yeah.
was a choice. But we have done unschooling, world schooling, online schooling, local school in Brazil, local school in the U.S., and yes, teacher traveling with. So it's been a journey. And so the oldest is now in university in a school of diplomacy and international relations program at a university in the U.S. and the other two are middle school and high school. And so yes, it's interesting as you see all the mistakes you make as a parent. And I had determined before I was married that I wanted to marry someone from another culture
Mm.
and that there wasn't a country I didn't want to go to. Luckily, I finally found, I proposed a couple of times, but finally found a wife that said, yes, I want to go to every country. And it's still our mindset. We want to, it's not those short trips. We like the long, slow, take our cat, take our dog, spend some time. My dog luckily arrives from Brazil this Saturday at JFK. And
Oh, nice.
yes,
That's a
yes.
that's a process. I jokingly say, I don't know if you know this. I travel with a 50-pound Siberian Husky named Coda, so I don't keep referring to him that way. His name's Coda. Yeah, I did the digital nomad thing for a while with him and stayed in about, I don't know, 50 something places over 2 years with him. And anyway, I joke and say that that's the only time that having a dog is more challenging than having a kid is moving internationally, because the kid at least can fly on the airplane with you. You just buy a ticket and go. But not the case with a dog. It's there's customs and all kinds of issues. I mean, we've faced them
Right.
all.
Yes, these quarantines and staying behind while everyone else leaves because the airline doesn't get it, and I go back to the FDA for one more certificate,
Yeah, yeah.
or etc. So Kipper the dog arrives on Saturday, and we will all be happy again
How
to
long have
work
you been
together.
apart from Kipper? How did he or she?
He was an adopt a golden mutt back a few years ago, but I've been apart from him for less than a month because I did get to go visit him
Ah,
recently
cool, cool.
in Brazil.
That's I'm excited for you to be reunited. Man's best friend. It's
Yes,
from one dog owner to another. I get it.
yes,
Going back to your kids and you as a parent and making this decision to travel the world. I think this is one of the most unique elements of your story, of at least the part that I know, is that so many people, they will say something along this line of a narrative where, oh, I would love to be doing what you're doing. I would love to be traveling the world, or I used to travel a lot, but now I have kids. So obviously you can't do that. And I'm positive you've had that conversation plenty of times throughout your life. You're the epitome of the antithesis of that. So what do you tell those people when that conversation comes up?
that I've made mistakes.
the,
But you don't have successes without mistakes.
the ship wasn't
And
meant to sit in the port, right?
yes, so I got married to someone knowing that they wanted to live internationally. They became a pediatrician to go to Africa and serve.
Hmm.
That was my wife. And so we knew we'd be raising kids around the world, whether it was for her to go further education at University of Liverpool and us move to England with kids and then move back to Ghana and then go to Thailand and then go to, you name it. It was a thing of course. And that was just part of it from the beginning, that yes, we were going to have kids, and yes, this is our life and they're part of it. Bringing them into decisions is a delicate balance, though. You want them involved in having ownership, but they're also kids. They shouldn't be making decisions that adults make. They shouldn't have the weight of that.
Hmm.
So there's a delicate balance on that.
Yeah.
When you're wanting to raise kids around the world, and it's like they shouldn't decide where they go to school. They don't decide that normally, but yet they are much smarter than their age. So you shouldn't just say, oh, I'm going to make every decision for this robot because they're so tiny. No, they're incredibly intelligent. So involvement, but it is such a balance.
Yeah.
So yeah, enough on that, because so many people are listening are not parents yet, but it is not always grass is greener because you choose to raise kids around the world. They grow, they develop, and they think, what am I then? Where everyone else has friends. Everyone else goes to sleepovers. And here I am. I get to jump off cliffs into some ocean somewhere, or I get to eat at these exotic restaurants and stay at great places, but I would much rather just have a lot of sleepovers in someone's normal house than experience these great things.
Yeah.
So there's some balances there.
Hmm. I can imagine. For you, it may be super exciting to go dive into the culture of Cambodia 1 month or 1 year, and your 12-year-old might say, like, I would much rather be in the suburbs of Philadelphia and be with my friends playing basketball or riding ponies or whatever. Like this. I
Right.
don't need to. I don't need to try Cambodian food. I'm fine.
Right. I remember a conversation. I do want to protect them. So one kid, we were staying in a place in southern Africa, and I could enjoy it because, hey, I've done it over and over. And so what? There are roaches crawling on our mosquito nets, and it's malaria. It's rainy season, so malaria is prevalent. But and the fan broke, and the power went off, and there was no running water and things. Like, this is normal. Well, it wasn't normal for the kid. the the preteen
Yeah.
that was not a thing of this is fun. No, it's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like,
So
no, embrace the culture, man. Come on, enjoy it.
right,
This is all part of the experience. We chose this.
just
No,
meditate a
we
few
didn't choose
minutes.
this. You chose this.
Right, just meditate,
Yeah.
center yourself, and admire the colors of the roach or the fly. No,
Well,
doesn't
well, you
fly.
you've managed to make it work, and I guess it would be fair to say that the the grass is always a lot of times the grass is greener on the other side, and a lot of times it just isn't true. There challenges come with all aspects of life, right? And travel is no different. Sometimes the trip on Instagram looks phenomenal, but nobody sees the missed flights or the stolen passport or these things don't show up there. So it's very interesting and I think exciting for someone from the outside looking in to say like, oh, it is possible. Like you guys have made it work, and it would be naive to think that it didn't have some bumps in the road as well.
Yeah, it's a thing of travels seem great, benefit packages seem great, but it's almost of okay, can we present the other side of okay, working here you may face long hours, or
Mhm.
traveling to this country you may face all these things. Those aren't going to be in advertisements in magazines
Right.
or on a brochure for a company of be careful, you may actually have a heart attack
Yeah.
and the hospital may not be that great. And this is the process. And no matter what company you choose, the process isn't going to be easy during recovery,
Yeah.
whatever. It's always of the positives,
Yep.
you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
whether
The
it's a
the the
cell phone
fine
company
print.
saying 5G or 4G, except where you don't have it.
Yeah. Exactly. Um, Yeah, I think I do just think it's amazing though to have called. I mean, there are a fair number of people who have moved to one country or moved abroad with a family and or started a family abroad. It sounds like you guys are still somewhat nomadic though, and or have over the years have stayed somewhat nomadic. Sometimes in a year, 2, 3 years in one place, but then moving on multiple times. Is that correct? And if so, can you kind of like describe the balance sort of that you keep between or some sort of rhythm that you have with coming and going, say over the last 10, 15 years?
I would say it's ensuring each other's careers
Mm,
and kids' needs on being flexible with what that is.
mm,
As a group, whether it's my wife advancing me or the freedom for both of us in a particular season, collaboratively living and realizing, okay, we're both free, kids need this type school, we're going to relocate for that. Or she has an opportunity and I can work from there, so we're going to pursue her opportunity. Or it's
yeah.
just it's collaborative living and not that thing of okay, this is it, period. The rest come along.
Right. And also it doesn't sound like it's just random desire to go live in some certain
Right,
place. There's been a pull factor, something that said, "Hey, we do," like you mentioned Liverpool for studies and
right.
Ghana for the hospital. And so there's been a reason to go to a place, and you guys have just been open to, "Hey, we're a family that moves. We'll live in different places." Sure, that geographic location of that opportunity isn't what's going to keep us from doing it.
Right. This most recent move, it was more of okay, where in the US do we want to go?
Hmm.
It was totally a blank slate
Why'd you
of
pick
where do we want to
Philadelphia
go in the
or
US.
Pennsylvania?
Multiple reasons, but it's in between DC and New York City. Love the region, never been here, but for a couple of visits, close enough to some colleagues for occasional on-site visits.
Hmm.
Um, Friends nearby, but not in the same town. It's great schools, good way of living, and it was yeah.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, you checked all the
Right.
boxes. So
Yeah,
what's the plan now? Are you guys like settled down for a little while, as settled down as you can be, or what's the mid to long term plan.
Yeah, at least for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because middle child is going to be graduating high school in a couple of years, so
Mm.
that way they're in this school right here. Third child, we'll see. It's too young at this point, dreaming of okay, marine biologist. What's it going to be? It's like, should we live closer to an ocean, or does he really want to get away from us and go to an ocean?
Australia might be calling, the
Yeah,
Great Barrier Reef, and does it sound like
right.
that's a place you've called home yet? So you got
Not
more to
yet.
check off.
Yeah.
Super cool. We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This season is brought to you by my good friends over at Insured Nomads. They're the absolute best in the business when it comes to providing health, travel, and medical insurance for nomads, expats, and really just all forms of world travelers. I know insurance is often something that's overlooked when we're fantasizing about traveling the world, but it's absolutely necessity that we address this because often the policy you have in your home country isn't going to cover you while you're abroad. And it's also a requirement, as a lot of people may not realize, to actually buy private travel or expat insurance, as it's called sometimes, to obtain a visa or even enter certain countries. So fortunately, there are companies like Insured Nomads to help us with this. Not only do they have excellent coverage and great prices, but they're also providing a first-class experience with additional perks and best-in-class technology via their app. It's an amazing experience. I can't recommend it enough. Now, this is a company that was built by world travelers for world travelers, so they know what it's like to find yourself in a difficult medical situation abroad, and they want to keep you from having that same bad experience. So the next time you're planning a trip abroad, whether it's for a week or a lifetime, check out Insured Nomads via the link in the show notes. Okay, now back to the episode. And you've kind of managed to swing this lifestyle. I'm curious. I don't know the answer. I'm not asking a question I know the answer to here. So I think it'd probably be best for you to frame what you do for a living a little bit and how this lifestyle, which one came first, the chicken or the egg, like your lifestyle and it parlayed into this world of insurance for digital nomads and expats, or the other way around, or how, yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you do, because I'm genuinely curious myself.
Well, thank you. After a number of years of representing all the leading global insurance companies, realized that there's a need for change. I had most recently come from a crisis response firm. And I got into this whole field of risk management, travel risk management, crisis response, international insurance, because in the nonprofit world, and with my wife being a travel med doc, travel medicine specialist, physician, had seen how there was so much of a need for better. Improvement needs to happen. People feel like that they're buying something they're not going to use, and if they use it, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So those are two of the first things we've got to solve. Build a better rocket ship in how it works and in how it delivers. So that's not an easy task. Putting together a team of people to make that happen, the collaborators, the capacity partners, the underwriters, all the different partners around the world, and actually most of them, all of them pretty much, 90% are in Europe with partners around the world. So it is developed as Insured Nomads. That's at insurednomads.com. And I'm CEO and one of the co-founders. Our president, chief innovation officer came from Cigna Global, United Healthcare Global, and Travelers.
Wow.
And is a thought leader in the space. And other key team members are drivers in this field that we've reimagined what this can look like. And we're a globally distributed remote company. Pre-COVID, that was the determination that this was how we would work, because it's how all of us have generally worked, whether it be our vice president of partnerships in St. Louis, Missouri. He's our only team member there. Our IT director in Texas, our tech team in Europe, etc. It's just with our entity in Hamburg, our regulatory entities in all across Europe and serving the rest of the world. It's the way of normal for me. It's the new for many.
Mm-hmm.
And this new nomad was transient hundreds of years ago, whether it be Silk Road or Sahara. And it's the immigrant, it's the entrepreneur that says, I'm leaving Lebanon and I'm opening a grocery store in Cote d'Ivoire.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm leaving Lebanon and I'm opening a foam mattress factory in Ghana, thinking of friends of mine along the years. They aren't really expats. They're not anything besides people that choose to live in another country.
Yeah, on the other side of an imaginary line.
Yeah. So these labels that we put on people, that kind of could be the new nomad, this new thing that doesn't fit the students that went to another culture for a master's degree and stayed forever.
Right.
Or two people who decided, okay, I'm from Vietnam, my partner is from another country, we're going to move to a third country and settle there. They're not going because they were sent on assignment. They went by choice.
Yeah.
And the various flavors, remove all the labels, we're people. The person in the line in the market behind us, just another person to care for, to listen to look at beyond the color of their hair or the style of their garment and think, another person like me.
Yeah.
But not like me. What can I learn and listen?
Well, and insurance is, I don't know if you know this, I actually studied risk management in university, in college.
No.
And so I went to school for risk management and worked in the insurance industry. And so a lot of what you're speaking, I can attest to. And it's an industry that actually does a lot of box checking traditionally in this way. I mean, it takes a bunch of data from across the world and across history and predicts when you're going to die and when you're going to crash a car and when your house is going to burn down and when a storm's going to blow and when a flood's going to come. And so it's kind of based on checking all these boxes and running data and making predictions and stuff like that. And it's interesting. Everything you're saying is sort of like the antithesis of that in a lot of ways. We're not just a bunch of box checks and predictable analyses and algorithms, and to try to look at the nomad as something different than what fits into those all those check boxes. So I think it's really interesting how you've kind of flipped that upside down in an industry that's traditionally very much so in the other direction.
Right. And it's as each culture develops their own ways to protect their citizens, manage risk, and create regulation, you can't exactly create a cross-border blanket solution.
Right.
Since you have to present something that passes regulations in each place and actually passes what the customers will pay for in every place. Because if you're from Israel, you don't buy an expat policy normally, because if you get diagnosed with with a chronic illness, you're going to go back to Israel and get treated there. So they buy travel insurance on an annual basis. And that could be someone from other countries such as Canada, etc. They think, okay, if I get something major, I'll go back to my home country.
Yeah.
So the mentalities of, from a South American perspective, they may get everything on the market, may have a 50,000 limit. Well, 50,000 may not cover a broken arm in some Asian or North American countries.
Right.
Where $50 would cover a broken arm in other countries. So it is so hard to generalize and even harder to apply what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it is, I love a challenge. So throw 50 of them to me every day and let me work my checkbox, my to-do list, and get it done.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me back up 1 second and make sure. So what you guys are providing insurance, what type of insurance to what type of people?
So we are providing cross-border coverage for medical, for those who are going on trips, so travel insurance. Mm-hmm. Generally, those who are going on trips are getting travel insurance, unless you're from one of those countries that has a government subsidized program and you still get travel insurance. But generally, those are for those. Then, international health insurance. Those who are living long term in this lifestyle generally get an international health insurance plan that covers them for a region, whether it be only Europe or only South America or worldwide, maybe, because they want to be covered in their home country and another region of the world that worldwide coverage is needed.
Yeah. I had to get one of
We're
those policies actually for to obtain my visa to move to Spain. I had to have one of those like a year of not travel, like specifically not travel insurance, like a regular, quote unquote, regular insurance policy for a year that was
yeah,
prepaid in order to show the government like, hey, this person's not going to be a burden to your social network.
right. And then providing those documents, tailor-made documents for people when they're going through the visa process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that changes nonstop. So it's a bespoke document creation when that time comes for that visa appointment.
It is.
But the insurance, sadly, is fulfilled often in an old-fashioned manner, and providing it to where people can process their claims in their app. They can snap pictures. They can add in their bank info, and if all that's there, it's deposited. But also having it connected to a MasterCard connected policy card to where you can pay right then in the clinic or hospital without having to get reimbursed. That's something that's different for our space.
Yeah.
But then having unlimited well-being, speak to a counselor, a therapist, psychologist as much as you want.
Wow.
Because crossing borders like this, living with a partner, with friends, traumatic events happen. Tough times come and you need counseling. And that should be included, and it's never included in health insurance. You may have a toll-free number you can call that says, okay, talk to somebody for, like an employee assistance program.
Yeah, yeah.
But multilingual, cross-cultural team ready to assist in 50 languages or more, video appointments, that's essential. Whether you're one person or managing a team of remote workers around the world. And so we built that in. Crisis response with a panic button in the app with employee tracking to where you can just check in the app. We know the location base and message if something happens there, or evac included, no claims. That's not included anywhere. Even most companies don't have it, and that's available. It's a new technology.
That had to be. God, I'm thinking back to this policy that I had to get. Now I've been in Spain long enough where I can actually buy like private health insurance here. I would say for anybody listening, that doesn't mean anything. Like Insured Nomads could be comparable or better. You just have a lot of times with insurance, like other financial products, and you don't really. There's a lot of options out there, so not many people take the time to compare all the options. You compare the first couple that come to your mind, and then figure out what works best for you and move on. So
yes, and in this lifestyle, Chase, like you're saying, sometimes you go local and then it's like, okay,
yeah,
that worked for a couple of years, but now I'm going to go with a multinational that will cover me locally and abroad. And then you get to a new country and say, I think I'll try that again.
Exactly.
So life just
it does change. Yeah, and you have to reevaluate these things constantly. Like you don't like speaking from someone who's worked in that industry, like where like you should reevaluate these things constantly and make sure that your needs are being met and make sure that you're not getting shortchanged somewhere or that you just have overlooked something because your lifestyle changes. So, but I was going to say, I have like a local policy here now. But when I had to get the 1 year of not travel insurance, but international insurance, Medivac was not covered by the basic policy, but it was something that was required for the visa, so had to be added as a endorsement and extra. It added a huge amount to the premium, and you're thinking like that should just be baked in there, but
it should be. It's one of those things where before they give you a quote in the purchase process, it should include the the basics
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. You'd think so. Often though, it's like those kind of things that are left out, those are the big money, the costs that come with the, for
Right.
the insurance company. So, and you guys are actually the insurance company, or are you an agent on behalf of a company, or what's your role?
We are in InsurTech,
Hmm.
meaning we are a company that blends insurance with technology. And our executives have come from the leading companies in the world
Hmm.
that have built policies. So we've created our own policies, gone to capacity partners,
Hmm.
and said, hey, here's a policy we'd like the world to have. Would you take on the financial risk for this? And they say, what? You want maternity to be at 10 months? Everybody out there is 12 or 24 months. Nope, we want it at 10. As long as you're not pregnant when it starts. Yes, okay, we want this. You're going to do that? Yes, this is what we want the world to have. And so we're not the insurance company,
Right.
but we're the brains behind the what's being offered. We're not doing a cookie cutter of, hey, would this company allow us to co-brand? No.
Right.
Would this company allow us to sell their stuff as a broker? No, that's not what we're doing. We're saying, okay, what does the new nomad need, or the veteran expat need, that they're not getting anywhere? The telemedicine included, the
Hmm.
mental health, well-being included, the airport lounge access included, cybersecurity included. Things that if you're not getting sick or injured, what do you need from us when you're paying us a fortune?
Yeah.
You need good service. You need 24 hours a day. You need alerts. You need people to know where you are. You need perks and discounts that are relevant to your lifestyle.
Yeah. Actually relevant. Exactly. Yeah. You mentioned a
Right.
couple right there. I'm like, that sounds nice.
Yeah. So no, we're not the insurer, but the insurer doesn't have the product we're taking to market.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So you've built your own mousetrap, and
Yes.
yeah, makes perfect sense. And it's so cool because you're drawing on your experiences. You guys are a globally distributed team. You got people living all over the world.
Mhm.
You've lived this nomadic lifestyle since, what'd you tell me, 1995? Is that right?
Well, in '95, I was in Amsterdam, and that's when I wrote in my fake moleskin, my journal, that I'm going to marry someone from another country, and I want to travel to everywhere. There's nowhere I don't want to visit.
You were
It's
in
not that I
Amsterdam
want
at the time, you
to.
said?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it took me going back home, getting out of debt, paying, finishing undergrad, which for some reason I thought that was important. Because culturally at the time it was one of those things. I even thought I'm going to get a master's degree, and I
Yeah.
started that, and it's like, wait, why am I getting this? My wife wants to go to Africa. Drop out of this program and get her to Africa.
And go
So I
to
did.
Africa, yeah.
Yeah. So
Go
we
learn
went,
T.
and I
What was the
figured out
language you
where
learned?
Twi.
Twee,
So
yeah.
I had to figure out, okay, which country in Africa are we moving to? Which partner are we going to work with? How are we going to do visas there? How often do we have to leave just because of our visa status at the time? And even though we had, yeah, it's a journey. As countries are evolving now, as they view foreigners differently, suddenly, it's not a thing of, oh, you're going to steal our jobs. It is, come here and spend money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
And
because you don't have to be located there. You don't have to take someone's job to earn a living in a geographic
right.
location.
So countries finally are looking at us, this cross-border lifestyle citizen, as something more than a leech on their society. It's show us that you have income coming in and we welcome you, which is a radical shift to just 5 years ago, even.
Yeah.
So, what's it going to be in 5 years from now? That's going to be the fun thing.
Interestingly, I mean, I think, a lot of countries are adopting this digital nomad visa, something along those lines, knowledge worker visa. There's a lot of different names for them. And I think this is like, right now, this is totally the exception. Before, like Estonia was doing it, and some countries had some of these, but they make, I mean, you make it really hard to be a nomad. You have to visa hop, you're border hopping, and you're thinking the whole time, you're thinking, I just want to come, not take a job and spend money in your country. Why don't you want me here?
Right.
and now I think it's going to become more the norm. It'll be interesting to see how that. I think it presents a ton of opportunity for you guys as a business. It would seem. I can't see any real downsides here. It seems like there's a lot on the horizon for you guys.
Yeah, it's that keeping in check what's needed
Mm-hmm.
by some, needed by all, and can be met in different jurisdictions around the world. Because some people travel with $4,000 computers and they want to insure them.
Right.
But it's an easy thing to leave in a taxi.
Yep.
And the thing of, okay, how can you measure the risk and develop a policy for it?
Or to
Okay,
claim it
you
was
can't.
stolen. Oh yeah, I'm here. My laptop was stolen. Like, oof.
Yeah, police can verify it was stolen too.
Right.
Sure, they can. But it's a tough thing. Insurance is, and we want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But there's so much fraud, even with health insurance, travel insurance. Of clinics saying, "Is it okay with you? We're going to submit it as $4,000, and we'll give you a little bit of it, or even not pass it on to the patient,
Yep.
and just say it was 4,000, and the traveler's already left." And could care less because they're on to their next destination, and the clinic is billing us 4,000 when it was 350.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a real problem. I mean, it's it was amazing. I
Yeah,
remember learning something. I don't remember the numbers, but something about the percentage of your premium that you pay in a given state or location is like 8 or 10 or 12% higher or something like that, just because of fraud, because you're compensating for all the fraud that's is going to take place, which is kind of a really bummer of a number when you're like, I'm doing everything right. Like, and my prices
yes,
are higher because of it.
right. It's so boggling that people would be playing the system like that, whether it is from the provider side or the insurer side. If you can create a fake anything with a PDF, save it as a PDF and submit it these days,
Yeah.
and say, sorry, the doctor is no longer there, and or they've changed phone numbers or whatever, and just write bad reviews and say they're not paying my claim.
Yep.
And then that review is there and you can't remove it, etc. Luckily, we're at 5-star reviews ever since we started, which, it's a thing of, okay, folks, write reviews,
Yeah.
good or bad. But we want to make sure everything is fabulous. And that's not easy in this cross-cultural world where everyone has different parameters of what good is and what acceptable is.
Mm-hmm. And what
Because we want,
expectations are for things like health insurance, like people's expectation of what their health insurance should be, or in the U.S. is quite different from what Europeans expect. And I imagine
yeah,
you guys are evaluating the entire world. I mean, it's got to be. You said throw you 50 challenges a day. I imagine you have at least that, because that's a
I
bit.
do, yes. But it's a thing of, okay, my call right before this was dealing with, okay, Switzerland challenges versus French, and submitting taxes on premiums paid to each jurisdiction, and the different user experience with all of this as we roll out new plans in May.
Mm,
And it's just great challenges. We'd like to release new products, whether that be cross-border life insurance or cross-border disability for individuals. We have that for group. And it's exciting as leading companies say, whoa, you guys are doing great. Can we partner with you? Can we develop products
mm.
just for you?
That's awesome.
And
That's
yes, and then investment firms saying, we love to invest in you. And as we prepare for the next round of investments coming up soon. So it's, as leading this enterprise, it is exhilarating, but it keeps it very much in focus when a country says it's got to cover a hotel stay. What? You're the only country in the world that tells an insurance company you've got to cover a hotel stay if we say the person needs to stay in a hotel for quarantine?
you
The
know
only country in the world that says that. I won't name a country, but it's a
yeah.
thing of, you can't change a contract, an insurance contract, when all of a sudden a country makes a change in their policy.
Right.
You make changes to those once a year. And then all of a sudden an administration makes travel advisory changes that just affects everything.
Yep.
So it takes breathing.
It's
It
funny
takes
you
calm.
mentioned like some of these expectations are funny. So my wife and I, we bought a camper van several years ago on our first, we're on our second stint here in Spain. And on our first one, we bought a camper van and we planned to do a good bit of time driving across Europe. And it was a terrible experience. It broke down lots of times. We had the insurance company was fantastic. It was Allianz, so I'll plug them because it
They
was a
are
great
good.
experience. The policy was amazing. I just never took the time to read it because I thought I know what an insurance policy covers. So we broke down, I believe we counted, we were on 17 different tow trucks over the course of our trip. So very, very often we were on tow trucks. And very often we were sleeping in that camper van inside mechanic shops or inside gated fences at mechanic shops, which is not exactly what we had in mind, of course. Come to find out on the last day of our trip, the last breakdown that we had, the mechanic shop, this place in France, says, they tell us, hey, you have a thing here in your insurance policy that the insurance company will give you a hotel room, a 4-star hotel, anytime you're broken down. And so so we ended up during our last breakdown spending like 3 nights in this beautiful hotel. They were amazing. They spent hours trying to find a nice hotel that was up to their standards that would also accept our dog who was with us. And so the service was insane, but the whole thing's funny because obviously it's kind of funny because we didn't utilize this 16 times previous when we could have, but also because it just shows you like it's all about your expectations. For a lot of us, auto insurance is just auto insurance, and you're like, okay, yeah, I know what it covers. If I get in a wreck, it's going to pay this or whatever.
Mhm.
But like those fine details can really make a big difference, and it's different country to country. We've come to find out that that's sort of the norm with an auto insurance policy here. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's helpful for anybody listening or just a funny story or whatever, but like I think you can never be like too seasoned of an expat, too seasoned of a digital nomad to kind of be reminded like, hey, it might be worth it to review these things and to re-explore what you think and make sure that you're leveraging everything at your disposal.
Yes. So a great illustration for that point of accommodation is often included on things like that, to where it will, if you're hospitalized as a single traveler on an international policy, it'll often pay for someone to come stay with you for their international flight, for them to come stay with you, and a hotel room for them to come be there with you.
Wow.
But people don't realize that. And there's so many different things that people don't realize because they think, I'll never use this, which is good because they're probably living healthy and smart, but also sharing it with someone who's not in this lifestyle. Because if something tragic happens and you're in a coma,
Yeah.
someone else having access to your policy documents that's not on this journey with you is actually very wise,
Yeah. Yeah. It seems.
including your legal documents of, what's your, someone else with cloud access to that, legal cloud access, your digital assets. We won't go into that. There's a whole conversation on granting access to people to some of your digital files just as a backup plan.
Yeah. Yeah. These are all like fun little tidbits that, the average person might not think about. But after, you traveling around the world, living in different places with your whole family and building a company sort of around this, you have some insights into some things that would just be common knowledge for you, but kind of like a light bulb goes off for somebody else. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, I'm going to be moving to Brazil next month. I should probably share my policies or my documents with somebody or keep them somewhere and give somebody else access.
So, the digital nomad, the remote worker, the immigrant, the entrepreneur that's moving countries and not taking any label, the location independent. This whole movement is not new, but many people are seeing it for the first time. So it's new to them. Employers are having to see it for the first time and say, we're saying you can work from anywhere, but do we really mean it? And how do we mean it?
Mm.
How are we going to deal with workmen's compensation if they fall at a WeWork in another city, etc.? It's the
Yep.
long-term disability aspects of it.
How do we
The
provide basic, like a lot of Americans, we expect a health insurance policy to be a part of, group benefits,
Mhm.
how do you do that when you've got a team spread across 35 countries? Are you guys trying to
Right,
solve
and
that, or have you solved that?
absolutely
Yeah.
yes. But even that mindset, as we work with some of the leading brokers in the world, that mindset has got to change because a group policy is not cookie cutter. It's not bespoke or tailored. It's saying it treats everyone in the group the same.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the group and saying, wait, is that the best model? Why don't we create multiple groups? Because this one only needs Asia. This one only needs X.
Yeah.
So actually, why don't we keep that person out of the group and do it this way? Because every company is unique.
Yeah. And this is such a interest. I mean, some people might be going, all right, insurance nerds, shut up. But like, we both speak this language, and I have to say, I work for a remote, fully remote company we got 100 people in 35 different countries, and a lot of those countries, like if Doist were to offer this benefit to the company to say, hey, we offer health insurance, like a lot of people would say, why? Like
Right.
I'm fully insured by the government. We don't even have health insurance policies here. Other places, like where I am in Spain right now, it's very normal. The regular citizen is fully covered by their taxes, by the social system, but a lot of people buy a separate kind of supplemental private policy. So there's all these different various degrees. Then we're on the other end of the spectrum in the U.S. where, like, it's all private for the most part. So I don't know. There's just it's really a tough problem to solve, because like you say, every company's different, and every country is different in how this is handled.
Right. And duty of care from a team perspective, remote company team perspective, making sure that they have a check-in, a something that allows them, even if they have a local plan, is there a tool in place that they can check in and show that they're okay
Yeah.
on a regular basis? Because an email doesn't do it. Somebody could send an email under duress saying, yes, I'm fine,
Yeah.
when they're actually being held hostage in
Right.
a place other than where they're supposed to be. And you don't actually know it for 4 days. And you don't know where they're pinging in from, because VPN, from wherever. So having that duty of care plan in place, and if you're a solo traveler or just two and you're not associated with a remote team environment, what mechanisms do you have in place?
Hmm.
Just personally, what friends, family, others are you keeping in touch with and maintaining life from a distance? Because many times we forget about those we leave behind.
Yeah. That's a common fallacy right there, for sure.
Yeah, and it's not fair to them. It's not fair to yourself. We've got to have good bridges between relationships of those we've left behind in our, even if we're just working in another region of our same country. We should keep investing in those relationships of the past and the relationships of the present, so that we have those. We know who our neighbor is, and they can come to us when they're out of butter. And um, it's waking up beyond our laptop and our fingers and going next door and knocking on the door and saying, hi,
Yeah.
you exist, I exist, my dog does bark, my how can we help you? We're here.
Yeah.
Even
Absolutely.
if it's a phone call across the ocean.
That's a good. That's a a nice little segue. Actually, I'm curious that aspect of living abroad has changed quite a bit. The ability to stay in touch and the ability to build relationships and maintain relationships since you've been doing this since, let's say, 95. So talking 25 plus years. I can, as a like a quick little reflection, I mean, I can recall when I was going to study abroad, like having to buy, in college, which is, mid 2000, early 2000s, and having to buy calling cards and go sit in dark basements at a payphone and use calling cards to get in touch with people. And smartphones didn't exist. You didn't have WhatsApp. You didn't, I don't even think instant messaging was really a thing. So, I mean, that wasn't really that long ago. Now we're sitting here
Right.
talking over Zoom, and I walk down the street, I'm walking the dog, and I give my parents a video chat call on WhatsApp, and it's so easy now. It almost feels like you're not separated from your loved ones. And I would be so curious to hear from your standpoint, like since you've been doing this for 25 years, living in different countries, how has that evolution impacted your lifestyle, positively, negatively? Just what are your kind of thoughts on this?
Yeah, the technology has changed drastically and will change much more rapidly as we look into tomorrow. It goes beyond the technology to the person, though. We've got to commit as individuals to make those calls, to restore the relationships, to make the time to send the email, to go home for a funeral, to go home for a wedding, a birthday, an anniversary celebration of 50 years of marriage, etc. Technology has sure changed, but we as a people need to celebrate our friends' victories, our friends' griefs. I remember a call that I got when I was in Liverpool of a death. And I was on the plane, my wife and I and kids, and we had family visiting us in Liverpool at the time. We were all on a train to London within hours to get there for the funeral.
Hmm.
And it's that thing of, are you willing to make the sacrifices, to make those phone calls when they need to be made, to say, look, I didn't mean to offend you with that email.
Yeah.
I'm an ocean away. I wish it could be face to face, but it's an email.
Yeah.
But
Like,
now it's a phone call.
don't let that ocean be the like it literally doesn't need to be a barrier between you and that person. So don't let it be a crutch or an excuse to
Yeah.
because part of technology advancing so fast is transportation as well. I mean, it's really not that big a deal for me to fly back to the US from Spain. Like if I need to get there by tomorrow, I literally can do it. I could have breakfast here and have dinner there, and that's pretty amazing.
It is. And as relationships have to be priority in life, people have to be priority. We've got to be able to sacrifice with that and to decide, okay, am I living for me or am I living for the whole?
Yeah.
Because I'm more than just me. You're more than just you. So this is a fun topic here. I know we are hitting on technology, but with technology comes the user. It's built for use. I remember the impact when I was in Amsterdam in '95. The impact of my sister calling me all the time on that one phone, landline. That she hadn't made international calls ever in her life, and here she was calling me, a 19-year-old in Amsterdam, and knowing that okay, she cares enough to do it.
Yeah.
That's Yeah, and now it's easy that where we're all WhatsApping all the time, and we're in the same country at the moment.
Yeah, the best thing you can do to like make someone feel loved from afar is go old school. Send them a postcard. You send
Oh yeah,
you buy a 30-cent postcard and write a quick 2 sentences on there and mail that across the ocean, and it arrives 2 weeks later. And man, people love this kind of thing, and it's because we're so reliant on technology that those kind of things are like making a comeback. Like it makes it
yes,
better.
Yes, I bought a book, The Power of the Handwritten Note, some years back. And postcard, letters with stamps, the way things are going to be processed through the postal systems, the way that it may not arrive for 3 months, it doesn't matter.
That makes it all
Good point.
sweeter. Yeah.
Good point.
I
Yeah.
hope it
Good
arrives
job.
3 months later.
Yes.
That much more nostalgic.
Right.
Uh, that's a fun way to start wrapping this up. I think we touched on so many of the things that I was hoping to get to, and I would love if you have any last thoughts, tips, advice about speaking to someone who's maybe considering a move abroad for the first time, on a very practical level. Any tips from a true veteran that's done this multiple times, broadly or go narrow with it as much as you like, but just what would you speak to someone if somebody's saying, I'm getting ready to make this move abroad for the first time, I'm taking the kids with me, we're packing up, we're moving. What do you say to that person?
Prepare yourself on the inside. Get yourself mentally ready, because life is an inside job, whether you relocate or not. And when you step out of your comfort zone, whether, just take it local. If you're to go to a neighborhood that you've never been to in your local, where you live, you're a little bit more apprehensive. You act differently. Change that to a new country, a new language. You're going to act differently. You're going to react to situations to where you're rude, potentially, when you shouldn't be. Or you're insecure because they're laughing and you think they're laughing at you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not. They laughed at somebody's joke that they told while they were helping you with the register. Somebody on the back said something funny and they laughed. You just happened to be in front of them. They weren't laughing at you. So your insecurities come out from the inside. So staying in a mindset of personal development all through life, of learning, of getting a therapist, getting counseling, having that for your kids, for your spouse, for your marriage, because we all grow differently. And then throw us in cross-cultural situations, whether it's living cross-culturally, being married cross-culturally, which often happens to the nomad,
Mm-hmm.
is that they marry someone from another culture. It's very, very common. I did. You did, right?
No, my wife's American also, but we've
Okay.
lived in a bunch of different places together.
Yeah. So as you pass through different countries and cultures, I think the number one thing is prepare in your inside, your mind. Constantly prepare your mind for what you're going through. Secondly is talk to experts. Google is not an expert.
Talk to humans.
Yes. Talk to people who know what they're talking about when it comes to taxation, when it comes to visas, when it comes to insurance, when it comes to legal matters. Talk to subject matter experts.
100%.
Talk to the people at the companies. Talk to consultants like expatempire.com. I know that guy just is, and other folks that just help you relocate. Visa companies versus do it yourself. Sometimes it's easy to do it yourself, but other times it's worth the 50 euros or whatever to pay someone. Those are my top two things. Talk to subject matter experts and talk to yourself and get, self-awareness, but then correction for those things that you become aware of that need healing.
1000% agree with you on both those points. I could not agree more. And on that last point, I will just say that I'm a huge fan of trying to figure out things for myself, but it is not the time to do that when you're dealing with some of these very serious aspects of life in a foreign country. Taxes, health insurance, the list goes on, your visa, your residency. It's a great time to just, pony up a little bit of dough and figure out, talk to the experts, get some advice, because you can really find yourself in a bad situation. And I mean, we as an example of this, we just went through our visa renewal process. This is the third time we did it, and we tried to do it ourselves without hiring somebody for the first time, because we're like, we've been through this, we know what we're doing. And in the end,
Right.
halfway through it, after months, we ended up hiring somebody again because we just couldn't navigate the system. At this point, we speak the language, we know the system, we've been through it, we know everything they need, and we still couldn't figure it out. So
Yeah.
save yourself some time, divert some resources from somewhere else, and ask the thought leaders.
That's good.
And for all your insurance needs, we know where to go now. It's really, really great talking with you. We'll link to your show notes and your social media handles. Is there anywhere else that people can follow you or your company or should go to learn more about you guys?
In any social channel, it's Insured Nomads.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, you can find me at Andrew Jernigan.
Perfect.
On Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Facebook is just another LinkedIn for me, so join me there as well. It's one of those fun places to connect with people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrew. This is a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I hope, and I'm sure people listening did as well. So thanks for sharing 25 years of experience on the road with us and a bit of insurance knowledge as well.
Certainly a pleasure, Chase. Thank you for having me, and look forward to hopefully doing this in person in the near future.
Oh yeah, God, let's hope so. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. You can visit aboutabroad.com to get our latest updates and listen to past episodes, or find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, really anywhere you get your podcasts. On that note, if you enjoyed the show, feel free to subscribe, and if inclined, leave a few stars and a review. It's truly, truly appreciated and will help more wanderers just like you find us. Until the next time, adios from España.